So if you're an intuitive, you might be using the wrong operating system. So what do I mean by this? There's sort of two main operating systems that regular modern people function with. One of them is the masculine-oriented strategic planning and controlled action path. And the other is the going with the flow, the creative, the not knowing what your next step is going to be, and responding in the moment rather than trying to control the moment. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely times that both are useful, and we should have a balance of both and know when to use either. But if you're an intuitive person and you're constantly trying to force yourself to plan and to take deliberate action, and you're not listening to your own internal rhythms and timing, then sure, you might succeed. But there's also a good chance that when you do succeed, you won't be happy with the results, or you'll still be left feeling empty. And that's because you're not succeeding in metrics that mean something to your soul, but you're succeeding in metrics that mean something to your ego. And as good as the ego is and as useful as it can be, it's also fleeting at times, and it can be quite superficial. So for real heart-centered love and connection and the good stuff that we all truly want, one of the best paths to follow that is to, rather than control outcomes and control your behavior and force yourself to do things that maybe you don't want to do, you listen to your internal guidance system. You listen to what your body and your soul and your inner child is asking of you, and you go with the flow of that. So being a creative, I'll give you a personal example. It's very easy for me to sit down and say, okay, I want to grow my following. I want to become more successful in my business. And in order to do that, people need to see me more. I'm sort of invisible at the moment, right? And so I wake up in the morning, and obviously I know that I need to post more, right? But I'm conflicted because my soul, or like a part of me, doesn't have the creative juice to film content. Like, I'm not inspired, and I might try and force content to come through. And a lot of times when I do that, the content doesn't succeed anyway, right? Whereas if I listen to my inner guidance, and my inner guidance says, okay, go for a walk this morning, right? And then I go for a walk, and for whatever reason, I clear the energy that I had in the morning. I feel 10 times better after the walk, and I create 10 videos just like that out of pure inspiration, and they all do incredible. And so basically what you can see here is that, yes, it is important to have goals and ideas as to where you want to go and what you want to manifest. And you do have to get to know yourself and ask yourself what you actually want out of this life. But surrendering the path to get there and not trying to force yourself to get there can be a much more enjoyable and, oddly enough, much more successful way of doing things. There's sort of one technique, which is the masculine success, or there's the feminine. So the masculine is the I'm going to do something, and the feminine is success through not doing something. So the thing about source and this reality is it's dualistic in nature, right? And this is where the philosophy comes in. But so things that are dualistic are created by separation. Or in reality, it's like polarity of opposites. So there was no being, there was nothing here, and then being explodes out of that single point, and now there's all sorts of stuff here in this universe, right? So the other way to look at it is like light and dark. They're opposites, and yet they exist at the same time, and so this is the same thing. You can actually succeed through non-doing in the same way you can succeed from doing, but they work in totally opposite ways, and they actually contradict each other. So if you want to basically, this is what's called a paradox. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to sort of balance or bring harmony back into the paradox and the duality through union, right? Through basically like fixing the separation. And we do this through things that are contradictive to each other. So I'm telling you all of this because it's very easy to fall into the Western entrapment of society that does push metrics, and basically there are, you know, stock owners who need their stock to rise to make money every single quarter, and if they don't, then there's lots of angry people who yell at them and get mad. It's a simplistic way of describing it, but it's true. And so basically there's this force, there's this push for constant progression and constant momentum. But nature, which is what we all are, we're not just a part of nature, we are nature, we're made out of the same things, and the same cycles that influence nature also influence us, right? Nature does not work in this only forward momentum energy. It just doesn't. Look at winter, right? Like winter is specifically all of the seasons taking a break, saying we are going to spend time recalibrating. We're also going to spend time cleansing. And that's huge. Like all the insights we get and all the wisdom that we get are not random necessarily, but it's like a lot of timing and a lot of effort and a lot of basically putting the right things into place need to happen in order for the wisdom and the insights and all this stuff to happen, for those magic aligned synchronistic moments to happen. All of it does take sort of planning in the background, and it takes divine timing and all these other things. And that stuff doesn't happen unless you give it time through rest, through non-doing, and through following the flow rather than saying, I'm going to control the flow. When we control the flow of things from a greater perspective, we're failing to see that we are part of a grander organism here. We're not the only thing that matters in this universe, and our survival and our lives are not just the most important thing here. But when we basically say that my needs are more important than the needs of the whole community, we are being selfish and egotistical, and we're basically, I don't want to say that's sinning, but it's like, it's basically taking two arms, and one arm is trying to do one thing and another arm is trying to do another thing. You're not going to accomplish as much as if both of the hands are working together, both of the arms are working together. So we have to understand that we're part of this greater organism. All of this is working together, and there are certain things that need to take place in other people's lives at timing that you can't possibly understand or comprehend. So you say you want Instagram followers, or you want romantic time with your partner, whatever it is that you want, and you might say that I want it in a month from now. And the universe actually says, no, you know what? That would be better for you and the other people around you in the grand scheme of things, in the long run, in your highest soul's development, if that were to happen in 2 weeks rather than a month. Or maybe it's supposed to happen in 6 months, and you actually have lessons that you need to learn before that comes in, so that when it does come in, you don't actually ruin it and you don't actually leave it. So again, just to wrap things up, the way that an intuitive should function in some periods of their life, at least some part of their day, should be spent where you, rather than you deliberately controlling your behavior, but you show up in the present moment, you ground yourself in your awareness and your being by bringing your attention to the moment, calming your mind, and then you respond. You don't say, I want a moment to be a certain way 5 minutes from now. You say, what is this moment asking of me right now? Where am I feeling called to go? What am I feeling called to say? You live in the moment and you respond from there. And if you do that, then again, like I said with creating content, you will be guided towards your greatest success naturally without having to force it and without having to control it. And you just basically have to have faith and surrender and trust in the greater intelligence of the universe, the greater intelligence of your guides, and the greater intelligence of your own soul. So yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more content like this. And if you are interested in working with me, I do weekly community groups online, and I also do one-to-one coaching where we do a deep dive into some personal issues and stuff like that. So thank you for watching. Have a beautiful rest of your day.